She was dying on the hospital steps. He said, no ID, no help. But 5 minutes later, the man who walked through that door made the entire hospital freeze. It was 8:12 a.m. on a Thursday when Rosa May Turner collapsed outside the emergency entrance of Parkview Medical Center. The sun was already baking the concrete, and yet her breath came out in cold puffs, short, staggered, and panicked. She clutched her chest as sharp pains pulsed through her left arm. Her cane clattered to the ground. No one noticed immediately. She had come alone. Her son, David, worked out of town. Her neighbor, who usually gave her rides, had moved last week. But Rosa had lived alone for over 30 years and had always prided herself on not needing help. She had dressed herself carefully that morning, fixed her scarf, and walked 2 blocks to the hospital for what she thought was just a follow-up checkup for her high blood pressure. She didn't expect her heart to fail her on the sidewalk. By the time a security guard saw her crumpled figure, she was struggling to remain conscious. He rushed over and radioed inside. Got an elderly woman down at the entrance. Not responsive. Breathing shallow. Inside, Nurse Claudia heard the call and ran for a wheelchair. The doors hissed open as she approached Rosa, already noting the signs: pale lips, wheezing breath, skin damp and clammy. We need to get her in now, Claudia said, bending down. Ma'am, can you hear me? Rosa blinked slowly. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. Then came the interruption. Hold on, said a crisp, commanding voice. Dr. Meredith Cole appeared at the entrance, arms folded across her white coat. Her tone was cool, sterile. Do we have ID? Insurance? Payment information? She's crashing, Claudia said sharply, looking up. We need to move her inside, now. She doesn't look familiar. No appointment. No records. And you know the policy, no emergency treatment unless we verify payment. Especially not for walk-ins. Claudia stood frozen, one hand gripping the wheelchair handle, the other still cradling Rosa's shoulder. She's not a walk-in, she collapsed outside. Dr. Cole cut her off. No card, no ID, no care. We're not a charity, nurse. A small group had begun to gather at a distance. One man pulled out his phone. Doctor, Claudia tried again. She could die out here. And if we break policy, I could lose my license, Dr. Cole replied curtly. If she has a family, they can bring identification and the $3,000 deposit. Until then, leave her there. It was said so matter-of-factly, as if Rosa weren't even present. The doors slid shut again behind Dr. Cole as she turned back into the hospital. Claudia remained a moment longer, torn between duty and orders. Finally, she lowered Rosa into the wheelchair and wheeled her under the canopy just outside the entrance, offering what shade she could find. She set a pulse oximeter on Rosa's finger and watched the low readings with growing dread. I'm so sorry, Claudia whispered. Nearby, the man who had been filming approached. Is this real? He asked, voice shaky. They're just leaving her here? Claudia didn't answer. She walked back inside, her shoulders tight, her eyes burning. The man posted the video with a caption. Elderly black woman denied care at Parkview Medical in Atlanta. No ID equals no help? Even if she's dying? Hashtag Parkview neglect. It began to circulate quietly, 1 retweet, 2, then 10. Meanwhile, Rosa lay half-slumped in the wheelchair, her eyes barely open, lips murmuring something inaudible. Her hand trembled over her chest. Her other hand gripped the edge of the seat. A minute passed. Then 5. Then someone placed a cold water bottle in her lap. At precisely 9:06 a.m., David Turner's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. He was sitting in the back of a sleek black SUV, fresh off a flight from Washington, D.C., reviewing his notes for the executive transition meeting. Today was supposed to be ceremonial, his first official walkthrough as the new Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Parkview Health System. A multi-million-dollar reform plan had been entrusted to him. He was calm, composed, and dressed in a perfectly fitted charcoal suit. But the third unknown call in under 2 minutes set him on edge. He hesitated, then picked up. David Turner speaking. A woman's voice cracked through the speaker. Mr. Turner? I don't know you, but your mother is Rosa May Turner, right? His spine straightened. Yes. What's going on? I think you need to get to Parkview Medical. Fast. She collapsed outside, and the ER doctor refused to treat her. David froze. Excuse me. She's still out there, sir. I was visiting a friend and saw everything. They left her in a wheelchair under the entrance canopy. She's barely moving. He didn't say thank you. He didn't hang up properly. He just told the driver, turn around. Now, Parkview Medical. The SUV made a screeching U-turn on Ponce de Leon Avenue. His mind raced. He tried calling his mother's phone. No answer. Again. Voicemail. His chest tightened. Come on, Mama. Pick up. In the rear seat, David's polished exterior began to crack. The commanding executive became a son again, a frightened, furious son. He scrolled social media instinctively, needing a thread, any confirmation. Then he saw it. A blurry video, shaky and grainy. His mother in a wheelchair, gasping, lips trembling. A white doctor standing over her with arms crossed. A caption that punched his gut. They won't treat her unless she pays $3,000. She can barely breathe. The comments were exploding. This is sickening. Modern-day discrimination in plain sight. Who runs this hospital? David gritted his teeth. I do, he whispered. By the time he arrived at Parkview, it was 9:29 a.m. He jumped out of the vehicle before it stopped rolling. He ignored the front desk. He ignored the questions. And then he saw her, slumped over in a wheelchair, sweat soaking through her floral blouse, eyes half closed, an oxygen tank beside her, borrowed, clearly not hospital-issued. Mama. She stirred weakly. He dropped to his knees beside her, took her hand. It was ice cold. Mama, it's me. I'm here. Her lips parted. David. He turned, eyes blazing, and barked to the first person in scrubs he saw. Get a crash team out here now. It was Nurse Claudia. She froze at the sight of him. You're David Turner? Yes. Who let this happen? Before she could answer, Dr. Meredith Cole stepped out of the sliding doors with a clipboard. I already told staff, unless she has insurance or a deposit, David stood up, took out his Parkview executive ID badge, and held it up at eye level. My name is David Turner. I'm the new deputy CEO of this hospital system. And the woman you just left outside to die? That's my mother. The hallway fell into complete silence. Dr. Cole's face turned pale. The air in the emergency wing felt heavier, as if the walls themselves had gone silent out of shame. David Turner didn't move, not yet. His ID badge still hovered between his fingers, catching the sterile overhead light. His mother was only feet away, and Dr. Meredith Cole, the very person who denied her care, stood frozen just a few feet in front of him. Claudia stepped back instinctively, but her eyes never left David. Not the man in the suit, but the son who just found his mother left to suffer like a stray animal outside a place meant to save lives. David's voice dropped to a deadly calm. Call the emergency response team. Now. Dr. Cole cleared her throat, trying to regain control. Mr. Turner, I was simply following. Don't, he interrupted, his eyes never blinking. Do not finish that sentence unless it ends with an apology. She stiffened. There are hospital protocols. My mother nearly died. In a wheelchair. Outside the doors of a hospital she trusted. Do you know what that feels like? To get a call from a stranger who saw your mother collapse because you weren't there to stop it? Cole hesitated. Do you know what it's like? David continued, stepping closer, to watch a viral video of the woman who raised you being denied oxygen because someone in a white coat decided her skin color and her bank balance didn't meet the standard? Someone gasped. A few nurses had quietly gathered behind the glass partition. More phones were recording. Dr. Cole took a breath. Sir, I did not deny her care because of her race. We have a protocol to prevent abuse of emergency services. David looked around at the staff. And how often does that protocol get applied to women like my mother? Silence. He nodded. Exactly. He pointed to Claudia. What was her condition when you reached her? Claudia swallowed. BP was 80/50. Irregular pulse. Cold skin. Labored breathing. Possible cardiac episode. And you tried to bring her in? Yes. And who stopped you? Claudia turned to DR. Cole without speaking. David turned to the watching crowd. Let this moment be recorded, not just on your phones, but in your hearts. Because this isn't just about my mother. This is about every patient who gets judged before they're even seen. He raised his voice. From this minute on, no one gets turned away from Parkview's emergency wing due to lack of paperwork. Not on my watch. The hall broke into murmurs. Some nurses clapped softly. Claudia's eyes welled. David faced Dr. Cole one last time. You'll hand in your credentials today. Effective immediately. You may walk out now. Or be escorted. The color drained from her face. She turned slowly and walked down the corridor, stiff and silent. David kneeled once again beside his mother. Mama, he whispered. You're safe now. Her hand found his. They didn't see me, David. They will now, he promised. The video of Rosa May Turner's ordeal spread like wildfire. By noon, it had reached 500,000 views. By 2 p.m., it was trending on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with the hashtag she was left to die. News anchors picked it up within hours. An elderly black woman was denied emergency care this morning at Parkview Medical Center in Atlanta. Her crime? Not having ID or insurance. Her son? Turns out he's the newly appointed deputy CEO of the hospital system. We're following this shocking story. The footage showed everything. Her slumped body, the dismissive posture of Dr. Cole, and David, his face filled with fury, authority, and heartbreak, declaring that no one would ever be denied care again. Within the hour, the governor of Georgia released a statement calling for a full investigation into emergency room discrimination. Inside the hospital, silence reigned, uneasy, fragile. Staff huddled in break rooms. Security guards stood at every entrance. Administrators whispered in corners. By 3:45 p.m., David called an emergency meeting of all senior staff and floor managers. No one dared skip it. He stood at the front of the main conference room, no longer just a nameplate on a door. This was his moment, and everyone knew it. Mistakes, he began, are human. But patterns are systems. What happened to my mother this morning wasn't just a mistake. It was the result of a system we allowed to rot. No one spoke, not even the chief of staff. David's voice was measured, but beneath it, there was fire. How many times have we used policy as a mask for prejudice? How many times has a receptionist or triage nurse made a decision based on skin color or accent before even checking vitals? He looked directly at the medical directors. You all know this isn't isolated. My mother happened to have a son in power. But what about the others? He pressed a remote. The screen behind him lit up with anonymized case files, patients turned away, delayed, or refused due to verification issues. That, he said, pointing, is our shame. A few gasps. One woman covered her mouth. You will see these policies rewritten. Starting tonight, you'll be retrained. All of you. Every staffer, every manager, every volunteer. If you don't like it, the door's right there. Still silence. Then Claudia, Nurse Claudia, stood. Mr. Turner, I just want to say thank you. I didn't know who your mother was. I just knew she deserved better. I'm sorry I didn't do more. David nodded slowly. You did what many didn't. You spoke up. You'll be leading the new patient dignity unit we're creating. Gasps. A few staff members clapped. A few wept. David ended the meeting with a final line. If we're not here to protect the vulnerable, then we have no business calling ourselves a hospital. The hospital room was quiet, almost sacred. Sunlight filtered gently through white curtains, falling in soft waves across the pale sheets where Rosa May Turner lay. Machines beeped slowly. Her oxygen tube was thinner now, her breath steadier. For 3 days, she had fought to stay in this world. And now, her eyes were open. David sat beside her, one hand gently wrapped around hers. He hadn't changed out of his suit. He hadn't left her side. Not since the day she was left in that wheelchair. Not since he'd made the decision to change everything. Mama, he whispered. You're back. She smiled weakly. I didn't go far. He leaned closer, voice cracking. They almost lost you. I almost lost you. But you didn't, she whispered. You found me. Like you always do. There was a long silence. Then Rosa said something that caught David off guard. I want to see the doctor, she said. David stiffened. What doctor? The one who left me outside. His jaw clenched. You don't need to see her. She doesn't deserve your time. She does, Rosa replied softly. Because if no one forgives her, she'll never change. David stared at his mother, the woman who'd grown up during segregation, marched for civil rights, and still, somehow, believed in grace. Later that afternoon, a knock came at the door. Meredith Cole stepped inside, not in a lab coat, but in civilian clothes. She looked smaller, humbled. Her hands trembled. I came to apologize, she said quietly. I made a terrible mistake. Not just as a doctor. As a person. Rosa looked at her for a long time. You left me outside to die. Tears welled in Dr. Cole's eyes. I know. And if I could take it back. But you can't, Rosa finished for her. Still, I believe people can be better. Dr. Cole choked on her words. I was raised to think I was better. That people like you. Rosa held up a hand. I don't need your history. I need your heart. A long silence stretched between them. Then Rosa whispered, will you sit? Slowly, Dr. Cole took the chair beside her. And they just sat. Not as doctor and patient. Not as black and white. Just two women. One asking forgiveness. The other giving it. That image, the former patient and the disgraced doctor sitting together, would go viral days later when a staff member captured it from outside the window. But Rosa didn't care about headlines. She cared about healing. A month later, Parkview Medical Center had transformed. Signs now hung at the entrance. Every life deserves urgent care. No exceptions. Claudia was now the director of patient dignity. Trainings were mandatory. Policies had been rewritten. Anonymous bias reporting lines were open 24/7. But the most powerful change? Patients began arriving with hope in their eyes again. And every morning, David visited his mother's room, even when she didn't need care anymore. On one of those mornings, he found her staring out the window. "What are you thinking about, Mama?" he asked. She smiled. "I'm thinking that maybe this place is finally becoming what it was always meant to be." He walked over and kissed her forehead. "It is. And it's because of you."